the topic today is stop pitching so early, or what they call pitch smacking, right? And so if you're leaving business meetings without getting a second call, you're probably making this one mistake. You're pitching too early. What happens is most people spend the first 10 to 15 minutes talking about themselves in a business meeting. What you really want to, they explain their services, right? They walk through a presentation, and then at the end of the meeting, they're surprised that nothing happens. And so what I'm going to give you today is three important lessons. You got to watch this video to the end to get the third lesson. And just three things I've learned. If other people have been following my channel, you'll know that I have, like I said, I've run many businesses, and right now I'm working in sales. And so I kind of applied that to other parts of my life, and I'd like to give you what I've learned about that and make some more videos. If you have other ideas for videos, please let me know. But I'm gonna give you three important lessons about having your first business meeting and closing a business deal. What the process is to that, because there's a process. So lesson number one is the goal isn't to close the deal, not in the first meeting. A lot of times, maybe you can, and maybe you have a really good meeting and they just need the services, or they've been referred to you. Then maybe you go ahead and just, okay, yeah, what services do you want? How can we close this deal, right? What do you need? And that's all good and fine. But a lot of times, it's a discovery. You're getting set up with a meeting, or maybe you got set with a meeting, and you're having your first meeting with this person. So the way that I look at a first business meeting, it's kind of like a first date. That's the way that I look at it. I like a lot of things. If it works in finance, it works in romance, right? And so what do you do on a first date, or how do I handle a first date is I make the date all about that person, right? And during the date, it's about, for me, a woman. For a business deal, it's all about the client, right? So you're just discovering, you're finding how does your business work? What's your mindset around business? Another thing is, show up early to meetings. So one thing is, people might have a variety of options for whatever service that you have, and they're going to go with probably the person who makes them feel the most confident. It's not what you can do. It's not only what you can do. It's how you make the client feel. So showing up at least a few minutes early, 15 minutes early from the meeting if it's online, just maybe a few minutes, right? And you're ready to go. You're waiting there when they come in, and you're presentable. I always do the extra things. I'm not like a super fancy guy. I'm not wearing a suit to talk about business concepts. I have a semi-designer shirt, but I iron my shirts. Every day I iron my shirts. Look, there's a little thing there. But, I iron my shirts every day. I iron my pants, my shirts. If I'm going on a date, if I'm making business, I look presentable. I look well. Everything looks nicely put together. Same thing you want on a business deal. Like, how's that person coming? Are they ready? You don't want to go into a business if they look tired and it seems like they don't know what they're doing, or they just, they're having emotional stuff. If you got to do a little meditation before the meeting, do the meditation, get yourself centered and get ready. And so what you're doing is you're just focusing on the client. Stop trying to sell. Just see what you're doing is actually qualifying the client. So you're saying it's the same thing on a first date. You're saying, is this person gonna work for me, right? Is this business gonna work for me? Can I, maybe can I solve this person's problem with the business that I have? Is it worth it to me, right? Is it worth the amount of what it's gonna take, of what I can charge, right? To solve this person's, pain point, right? And so you might get through discovery and say like, I probably could help you with what you need, but it's not my area, it's not my zone. So I appreciate you taking the meeting, but I'm not going to move forward, right? You only want to make forward if it's something only want to move forward if it's something that you can deliver on. And if you're iffy about it, you might want to take a stop and think about it. Hey, I'll get back to you, right? Same thing with the date, right? If you're dating, you want to say like, is this person the right type of fit for me? Do they have the characteristics, the stuff that I like, right? Is that going to work for me? And then you're making the deciding factors, whether you're going to make a second meeting or not, right? Lesson 2, which is discovery is more important than persuasion, right? So you want to know more about what they have, what the problem is. So you don't want to assume. A lot of people assume. I know what their problem is. I know how they're gonna come at this meeting. I know what type of guy this is, right? I know he's gonna say this, and that. Don't assume. Another thing, part of that is part of the discovery process is let them talk, see where they're coming at in business, what they've done before. Also, let them talk about their projects. Let them brag a little bit. Let them say, you know, I did this, this, and that. And then you say, okay, well, why were these projects successful? You know, what problems are you having on your current business? What are the main projects that you're working on? These are great questions I have here. Which projects are you most excited about right now? Right, that's going to be a big one for, you know, someone who wants to work with you. Like, how can you get him from point A to point B, right? What's getting the most attention this year, right? What are you most focused on? He's not worried about the other projects that he's not excited about, right? I'm going to let those fall to the side. What's working particularly well? You know, why do you focus on these particular projects? Where are you seeing the biggest challenges? So he has a project, right? And that's why he brought you in. That's why he's having a meeting, because he doesn't know, or she doesn't know, they don't know whether they can get the project done without help from other people. They need help from other people, whether it's web design, lead generation, you know, engineers, whatever it is, whatever business they're in, they need help from other people, and they need to know, okay, I need these pieces, right? And who are the people I'm going to choose for those pieces? So you want to know what their challenges are, and see if those are the challenges that you can you know, reasonably help them work on, right? That makes it worth your time. One other question is, if you could improve one thing tomorrow, what would it be, right? So maybe he's you know, developing a website, a digital business, but the app's not connecting to certain things. That's like his biggest pain point. Like, I got everything else working, but this app doesn't, these developers, they can't get it to work, right? Whatever it is. So that's the other thing. Let them, like I said, talk about, you know, certain issues that they have. You never know what they're gonna have, right? Let them talk about the projects they're proud of. That's when these opportunities appear. That's when you're talking about this. So if you hit them with a deck and you tell them, I do this, I do that, then you're just telling them all these things that you do. And then they're like, and then if you didn't include what they need and those set of things you do, they automatically cancel you out. But you may have an array of services, but you don't want to sound like a fix-it-all, right? So, you know, I do a lot of different things. I do audio visual production, I do design, I do sales and marketing, leads, right? But if I talk to someone and say, look, I can do your photography, I'll get you leads for you, I'll do your sales calls, they're gonna be like, what does this guy do? Like, why is he telling me like he can do everything? But if I approach it more like, I'm finding out more about what they do, and then I, you know, when I make the part that if I'm gonna make a presentation or talk about what I could help, I'm just gonna focus on those points. I'm not gonna describe all the other services that I have, because they don't apply to what they need. It just makes sense, right? So you don't wanna explain a bunch of services when you don't know what they need, because you might be going through all this different stuff and they're like, I only need that one service. You just told me like 10, 20 things that I don't really care about. And they're just getting tired and bored during your business thing. They're like, oh, when can I get off the phone with this guy? Why does he keep talking, right? So they might have staffing issues. They might have technological limitations. They might have vendor frustrations. These are the big ones, right? Delayed projects. These are the top things that are gonna come up. How can you help with these certain things? Keep your pitch in your back pocket. If you have a pitch, right? And refer back to it. These are the same things that work on like dating and business meetings, right? If you're going on a date with someone, you know, have your stories, have the things that you like to talk about. If the person is totally boring, you run out of things to say. It's the same thing with the business meeting. You have your deck, you have your thing, and if the person is like, you ask them about the problems and they just say like 2-3 word answers, then all right, go to your presentation for a few minutes, because they're just boring or they don't know how to explain stuff. And then they might spark some interest with that. So have your pitch in your back pocket. You know, don't lead with it, right? But have your pitches ready, and have certain pieces of it ready to elaborate when it needs to be, right? Okay, they're talking about this. I'll elaborate about this part of this area that I work on, and let me explain the specific thing that relates to them, right? So have that in your back pocket. And then connect your experience directly to that problem, just what I just said. So, you know, don't just say like, I've run through these issues, this is how I solve them, this is what I work on. You mentioned X, you know, here's how we could solve 2 problems with this one thing, right? And you're not just, that way you change from having a generic presentation to something that is specifically applying to what that person needs. Lesson number 3, and this is the most important one. That's why you stayed watching for the video. So lesson number 3 is the 80-20 rule. They should be talking 80% of the time, you talking 20% of the time. If you're talking the whole presentation, it's gone wrong. You've done a bad presentation. You should be listening. Okay, this is what this guy needs. This is what this team needs. That's what she needs. That's what this business needs. So talk 20% of the time. And mostly you're listening, and then you're asking for more, for them to elaborate on certain things. Same thing with the first date with a woman. She says, the person says, I studied medicine, but I was I wanted to study this, but I studied that, right? So you make it all about that person. Okay, why did you change your career path? You want to know that about someone you might be dating. And they're both related, right? And so then you have them expound on that specific thing. Make it all about them, right? Same thing with the client. So it's about asking the right questions. So they said I had this problem, and then you said, I had this issue with this project that I'm working on. And then you want to ask, how did that affect the rest of your business, right? So they want to, get them to understand, oh, I had this delay with my app, with the stuff connecting, right? But then it really messed up the other part of my business, because I had other pieces of my staff that I had to keep on paying because they're on a timeline in the project, but I was delayed by this whole team. And so then it cost me a bunch of more money in other areas, right? So, okay, let's see what we can do about both things, right? So let's get this thing fixed so we can get the other people working on this thing, and that's what I can come in and help you with, because I have, my people that work on this and that, right? So that's what it is. Your job is to understand them. People buy from people who understand them, period. They're not gonna buy from someone who just starts pitch smacking a bunch of stuff that they don't need. But when they really understand, this is what your actual problem is, and then you expound upon that, and then you get into the details, and you say, oh, this could be some potential solutions to that. You go deeper, and then they feel like this person really understands what the issue is. I think he's gonna help me, so I can go. They want to know that you called the wolf, that you're going to take care of it, man. You show up early, you come in good looking and ready to go, and you're going to fix this issue for them so they can go get on other parts of their business. That's what they want to know. This guy, Rob LaFond, is going to take care of it. I don't got to worry about that. That's what a lot of my clients have told me. They said when they hire me, they know that this part of it, whether I was working on production, wherever it was, they're like, Rob's got it. They're like, I'm over here talking about other stuff now because Rob just handled the production, right? He's telling I didn't even have to explain everything to him. He's telling the people, the personalities, the actors, whatever, the people who are making the presentation for the marketing. He's leading them. He's telling what to do. He's making sure it's moving forward. He's not just sitting there and waiting for the next thing for him to say, oh, move the project forward. He knows Rob's moving the project forward, right? And he knows that he's doing this while other thing is happening. He knows he's efficient, right? And so if you've done everything right, and let's see what it says here. So if there's anything you've heard today that would keep you from so then you'd say you can find out where are they at. Is there anything that you've heard today, right, that would stop them from us moving forward, or having a second discussion, right? Or is there other decision makers that need to be involved in the process? You want to know. These are the types of things you want to know. Are you able to just start moving forward with this? Let's have a second meeting. Always have a second thing coming up, right? So you've gotten through all the calls. You've gotten through the business call, and the issue. So now the next step is, okay, let's have a second call, and this time I'll have a presentation for you. I'll have some outlines of pricing so we can get moving on the project, then we can go from there. So you're right, the next step is getting some basic pricing, having a next meeting, and then knowing how you're going to move forward. That's the next step. So that's what you want to leave. Always have a plan with that first meeting, where are we going to next? It's not okay, thanks, it's great, we'll touch base in a few weeks. Something vague. You want to say, all right, that sounds good. I took some notes here. I understand what you're moving. I want to put some basic pricing together. Let's meet, this date, or if they're a busy person, say, I'm going to send you 3 options so we can get that next meeting set up, and or I'll set it up with your person, right? And if there's another decision maker that needs to be present, are they available during these times? Let's coordinate everything so we have everyone in the room so we can get the project moving forward. So that's how you do it. You know what? You don't pitch smack someone. You figure out what they need, and then you move it forward with areas that you can help. that's my video for today about having your first business meeting with the client, whether it's someone who set you up with this meeting or it's a meeting that you got on your own. And like I said, if it works in finance, it works in romance. You can apply this stuff to your dating, guys. And I appreciate you all watching my channel, LaFond Social. Stay tuned for more videos, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Please let me know what you think about these types of videos. They're more business related. It's not specifically about Medellin or my travel videos or my video content. This is more business oriented content. It might be a whole series that I do. Let me know what you think. Let me know topics that you'd like to hear. I already have a list of topics as well. If you have some other ideas, if you have questions about this, let me know. If you need consulting, I do consulting for businesses in Colombia. I do consulting for expats moving to Colombia. I do audiovisual production. I'm pitch smacking you right now. But if you need some of the services, or if you're wanting just to talk more, let me know and we can set up a call. I do brief calls, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Okay, ciao for now.